of American sport. NBA teams refusing to play their scheduled games in protest of racial injustice in this country. Their boycott in Orlando, a direct result of a shooting which took place in Kenosha, Wisconsin, 40 miles from Milwaukee, where on Sunday, 29-year-old Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back. Players and coaches have been vocal in voicing their outrage and disgust, and today made a resounding and unified statement by refusing to take the court. We welcome you to the...
Please just up in our community. And I know people get tired of hearing me say it, but we are scared as black people in America. Black men, black women, black kids, we are terrified. Because you don't know. You have no idea. You have no idea of how that cop that day left the house. You don't know if he woke up on the good side of the bed. You don't know if he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You don't know if he had an argument at home with a significant other. You know, if one of his kids said something crazy to him and he left the house steaming. Or maybe he just left the house saying that today is going to be the end for one of these black people. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like.
What do you feel like you or you all can do from Orlando, from the position that you're in right now?
I mean, we can't do anything. First of all, we shouldn't even came to this damn place, to be honest. I think coming here just took all the focal points off of what the issues are. But we're here, so it is what it is.
Unfortunately, I have more chilling details. Jacob Blake is just 29 years old. His father told the Chicago Sun-Times that he is paralyzed from the waist down. Doctors are uncertain if this condition will be permanent. So we heard from LeBron, we heard from George Hill, Stephen A. Now I want to hear from you.
Well, it's unfortunate. There's no doubt about that. It's sad, it's disgusting, because I think that LeBron James makes a point. And a very salient point when he points out how you don't know what we go through. There are a lot of details to various incidents, not George Floyd, because we saw that on video, but others you can look at and you can interpret any way you want to. All right, why did this man go back to the car? Why did this guy fight with the police officer and run away and all of this other stuff? Here's what I want white America to understand. Dylan Roof goes to a church in South Carolina years ago and shoots 9 black worshipers. There is a manhunt for this person. Not only is he arrested, they stopped him at, I don't know whether it was McDonald's or Burger King. They actually stopped to get him food and bringing him into custody because he was hungry. But an unarmed black man ends up getting shot. See, the problem that exists with white America is that this is what a lot of folks in white America are not getting. Because that's the question that black folks continuously ask, facetiously, no doubt. But we ask the question nevertheless, how is it that a white person can find themselves committing acts of violence, but they get arrested, but unarmed black men are getting shot? That is the fear that LeBron James, I believe, was alluding to when he said, you just don't get it. How scared we wake up every day. We have children. We're wondering what's going to happen to us. And it could be contingent upon the mood of a police officer. I've been on national television on this show where I pointed out how I was in New York City driving with my daughter, who I believe was like around 8 at the time. And I'm driving down Amsterdam Avenue going towards Harlem. I think I'm like at between 79th and 80th Street. And I get pulled over by a cop. The next thing you know, it's 3 squad cars pulling me over. And the cop said, show me your license and registration. I said, here, sir, because I always roll down all 4 windows. I put my hands on the steering wheel. My daughter is in the back seat. And the cop says, show me your license and registration. And I handed it to him, but I said, officer, what did I do? And he starts screaming at me and pointing at me and don't effing talk back to me and all of this stuff. And then puts his hand on his gun. And it wasn't until the other officer came to him, and the officer said, oh, and he said the S word, oh. And then he grabs the officer, pulls him away. And then the officer comes back to me, hands me my license and registration. Have a nice day. So evidently,
the Mavs have already overachieved. The fact they won a game without Porzingis in this series speaks volumes. To think they could do it twice to win this series in a row would be a tall order, but if this gets postponed, pushed back, and he returns, that could change things, which is why we'll ask you this question. Will Kristaps Porzingis return during this series? Type Y for yes, type N for no. If they play tomorrow, I'll say no. I'm pretty confident he would not return if we play on schedule. Push back 2, 3, 4, 5 days, that might change things.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. We really have no idea. And let me remind Mavs fans that are watching, this is not the same knee in which Kristaps Porzingis suffered a torn ACL. Yes. Completely different knee, which might be more concerning, might be less concerning that he has 2 bad knees, but it's just sore. He actually already was listed for a sore knee in games in which he played too, so it's not a huge deal. But like you said, if he doesn't play tomorrow, there's obviously something more going on and further risk of injury that they're not willing to put out on the table.
We should mention, too, on the Clippers side of things, Pat Beverly's been hurt. He could return if there's a delay, right? Luka Doncic and Trey Burke are dealing with bad ankles. Those could get more healed up. So there's a lot of injury considerations when it comes to this series in particular between the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers, which, of course, the Clippers lead 3-2. So off-the-court implications, on-the-court implications for every team in the bubble, but I would argue this series more than any other as well. Now, Jimmy, you've been balling out on the All Things Mavs YouTube channel, and you've been
tonight's games in response to the shooting of Jacob Blake Jr. in Wisconsin. Blake is now paralyzed after he was shot in the back several times by police in Kenosha, Wisconsin, as he leaned into his car with 3 of his children in the back seat. It happened on Sunday, and this week more protests have taken place nationwide, even right here in Sacramento. The Milwaukee Bucks became the first team to make the decision to boycott their game against the Orlando Magic, but that was just the first domino to fall. The NBA ultimately postponed all 3 playoff games today, and no WNBA games are being played in Orlando either. And while the NBA figures out next steps, players in the Bucks locker room have reportedly been on a conference call with Wisconsin's Attorney General and Lieutenant Governor. This is just another unprecedented moment in sports this summer. Today's developments coming after what's already been an emotional few months for players and coaches alike. Take a listen to what some of them had to say about the recent events in Kenosha.
Quite frankly, in our community, and I know people get tired of hearing me say it, but we are scared as black people in America. Black men, black women, black kids, we are terrified. In
Major League Baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers became the first team to decide they would not play their game against the Reds tonight, but now the Giants have announced they will not face the Dodgers, the Mariners, and Padres, sitting tonight out as well. This is a developing story. You can stay up on the latest at ABC.